discussion, we will try to find out why China and Russia are closer than ever before. Xi Jinping, China's leader, met with President Vladimir Putin of Russia in Moscow in the most high-profile visit by any world leader to Russia since before the pandemic. This meeting between the leaders of China and Russia marks another key moment in the deepening relationship between the two powers. Coming more than a year after Russia launched its invasion of Ukraine, the meeting will be watched closely by Western officials for any indications of how far China may be willing to go to act as a mediator in the conflict. Chinese officials have framed the meeting partly as a mission to promote constructive talks between Russia and Ukraine, even though U.S. officials have been skeptical of Mr. Xi's recent efforts to become a global peacemaker. Here are 5 things to know about the relationship between China and Russia. Firstly, it's important to know, are China and Russia allies? Let's talk about that. China and Russia are not formal allies, meaning they have not committed to defend each other with military support. But the two countries are close strategic partners, a relationship that deepened during the war in Ukraine as Russia became increasingly isolated from many other countries. Chinese officials have said the current relationship is at a historic high. The partnership is fueled by a shared goal of trying to weaken American power and influence. The relationship between China and Russia has not always been so warm. The two sides were fierce adversaries in the 1960s and clashed in 1969 over disputed territory along their border, raising fears at the time of a nuclear showdown between the two countries. The two countries have also been competing for influence in Central Asia, a region that the Kremlin has long seen as its turf but is becoming increasingly important to China's geopolitical and economic ambitions. China is building more railroads, highways, and energy pipelines in former Soviet republics like Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, which still rely on Russia as a crucial security partner. The second point is, how close are Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin? The answer is, right before the start of the Ukraine war in February 2022, Mr. Xi and Mr. Putin declared publicly that their countries' relationship had no limits. Mr. Xi has often described Mr. Putin as his best friend. During an economic forum in Russia in 2018, the two fried Russian pancakes and took vodka shots together. For Mr. Xi's 66th birthday in 2019, Mr. Putin presented him with a cake and a giant box of ice cream. In an article published in a Chinese newspaper on Sunday, Mr. Putin said the two enjoyed the warmest relationship, noting that they have met about 40 times in recent years and always found time to talk at no-tie events. The third point is, what is the economic relationship between Russia and China? Economic ties between China and Russia have strengthened significantly since Russia's first invasion of Ukraine in 2014, when it annexed Crimea. At the time, China helped Russia evade the sanctions imposed by the Obama administration that were supposed to cut off Russia's access to global markets. In the wake of harsher sanctions against Russia following the start of the Ukraine war last year, China has helped to supply many of the products that Russia previously purchased from Western allied countries, including computer chips, smartphones, and raw materials needed for military equipment. Total trade between Russia and China surged last year. The fourth point is, what does Putin want from China? Let's talk about that. Mr. Putin needs China to help bolster his economy, which has been battered by Western sanctions. For the Russian leader, China has increasingly become a lifeline for investment and trade. After Western countries restricted their purchases of Russian crude oil and natural gas last year, China helped offset the decline by buying more energy from Russia. At the start of the Ukraine war, Russia asked China for military equipment and economic assistance, according to U.S. officials. American officials have recently said that China is considering giving weapons to Russia for use in Ukraine, a claim that China has denied. China has refrained from condemning Russia's invasion of Ukraine, even though China's foreign policy is rooted around the principles of sovereignty and territorial integrity. Although China has portrayed itself as a neutral party in the Ukraine war, it has endorsed Russian narratives, blaming the US and NATO for starting the conflict. But China has also hesitated to put its full backing behind Russia. The turmoil and instability stemming from the war could threaten China's growth and complicate its efforts to strengthen its economic ties around the world. Last September, after Mr. Putin and Mr. Xi met in person, Mr. Putin acknowledged that China had expressed questions and concerns about the war in Ukraine. And now the final point is, what does Mr. Xi want from Russia? Let's talk about that too. Mr. Xi wants Mr. Putin to join him as a like-minded ally in confronting US and Western dominance. In an article published in a Russian newspaper on Monday ahead of the visit, Mr. Xi said China and Russia needed to cooperate to overcome challenges to their security, including damaging acts of hegemony, domination, and bullying. Mr. Xi has pursued a harder stance against what he calls an American effort to contain China's rise, portraying China as a nation besieged, much as Mr. Putin has done in speeches to Russians. Mr. Xi has urged Chinese industries to reduce their reliance on Western technology and hailed China's growth as proof that it does not need to adopt Western political values. China has been buying more advanced weapons from Russia to modernize its military, and the two nations have increased their joint military exercises. Last year, as President Biden was visiting Tokyo, China and Russia sent bombers over the seas in Northeast Asia as a show of force.